What's up, guys? We're going to give everybody a couple minutes to join and then we're going to get started here. If you have tickers that you want to look at, please put those in the chat and we can get going here. All right, guys. So we're going to get started here. People can join as we get going, but we're going to be looking at kind of overall picture, what's kind of going on, and then see what we can look to play this week. So I'm going to throw up one of my other. Here we go. Okay. Fix this real quick. Here we go. All right. So we're going to just take a look at a few different tickers here. See what we got going on. And then, so first we'll start with NASDAQ and go to the daily time frame. Okay, so basically what we're looking at here, basically we're in a downtrend. I mean, there's no simpler way to put it. We've been trending down.
Recording in progress.
We've been trending down for quite some time here. And we're just making lower lows and lower highs. So a lot of what we're seeing, if I can get this off there real quick. There we go. Okay. So a lot of what we're seeing here is just a consistent downtrend. So we're just seeing a push down to 2 ATR and then kind of back to the mean, probably another push to 2 ATR. And then we kind of just keep up with that same mentality until we're proven otherwise. And really, kind of how you have to look at this is we don't really make any decisions until, like, as for the daily time frame goes, until some sort of squeeze forms and we like what we see on the daily chart, right? So there's really nothing that, in the terms of a daily time frame perspective, that's why I've been day trading so much, is because I don't see anything that I like setting up on the daily time frame. Now, with that being said, if we take a look at the 3-day, I had posted this or sent this out in the newsletter. I do like this setup. I mean, it looks the same on QQQ, but I do like the look of this setup for the NASDAQ. ES is a little different. It's starting to form a squeeze, but as for the 3-day time frame, so this is kind of like a good in between the weekly time frame and the daily time frame. I use the 3-day. You can look at the 2-day if you want. We can take a look at that. So, I mean, this one definitely looks more bearish for sure, right? We have downward momentum. EMAs are not stacked. So we kind of have a more bearish setup on the 2-day time frame. But going back to the 3-day, we're hanging out at the 21 EMA, not really doing anything. And yeah, this chart looks clean. Now, what we're looking for is we got to see some sort of a shift in momentum. Obviously, we're still downtrending in terms of the lower time frames like the daily, but in terms of like here, the histogram, we're losing momentum. And I do not like to get caught in times where, see if there's a good example. Like here, even though we're in a downtrend, this is the same kind of idea where probably here's a better example where we're forming a squeeze and it looks good. And so you look to go long, and then next thing you know, the momentum keeps rolling over. And, or for example, you went short here, momentum is pushing down, so you get short, or you still get short here at the mean, and then the momentum just rolls over and we fire upside. I hate when that happens. So typically what I like to do is just wait for that momentum to start heading back to the upside. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in NASDAQ, but that's not going to happen until we see this here. We see the lower time frames flip. And as you can see now, we've got stacked EMAs on the daily time frame for NASDAQ, which is not a good sign. And we have the same thing going for ES. We're losing momentum, which is a little bit of a good sign. But as you can see, like as soon as we had this, basically what happened was we had two closes below the 21 EMA, kept holding below it, right? And then notice that kind of created a trend shift. We had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days where we tested the 21 EMA trying to get above it, and we just couldn't. And that's kind of like the mean of the market. So when we see that, we had our push down to almost 3 ATR. And then next thing you know, we had our move pop back up. And we had talked about a dead cat bounce going into last week for the watch list that I had typed out. And this is exactly what we were looking for. So it kind of played out to the T. So we were looking for a move down to 2 ATR. We got that on Friday, right? Or last Friday. We ended up here. And then we expected a dead cat bounce into the week. If you don't know what a dead cat bounce is, basically it's just a weak bounce in the market. And basically, so from here, what am I kind of expecting? I'm kind of expecting this action here just continuing to do the same thing, right? Like I'm looking for it to come back, go to negative 2 ATR, come back to the mean, 2 ATR, back to the mean, and continue that pattern until proven otherwise. And I mean, that's a pretty consistent pattern that we can see all throughout the market. And so that's what I'm initially looking for. Now we do have to point out the fact that we have here and here, we might be trying to put in a higher low. So that's definitely something we need to pay attention to as well. And really, you say, okay, what's going to signify, like, if we decide to get short, right? We're losing momentum on the histogram. So there's really no reason to go short the market just yet. But if we move to this higher time frame, ES doesn't have anything, but NASDAQ is setting up. So what we want to see on the NASDAQ is kind of us rolling over even further. But right now, there's nothing to take there. So we got to continue to wait. We have a few of the things checking the boxes that we need. We've got a squeeze. We got the histogram going lower. The thing is, we just need this to roll over. And a lot of times when the EMAs start to get stacked at the top of a pattern or in an uptrend, and they start to get a little messy like this, like the 21s above the 8, usually that's not a good sign. But so we could potentially look to play this 2-day squeeze to the downside. That's always a possibility for sure. And what's going to happen is if we do get that, we're going to get a push in the 3-day. Hopefully the 2-day will trigger off that 3-day so we can find a pretty big move. Now, when you think about this, when the squeeze fires off, right, it gives about 6 to 10 bars of momentum to whatever side that it decides to fire off. So if we have a 2-day squeeze, 6 to 10 bars, that's 12 to 20 days of price action of moving lower that we can expect. So if the 2-day does decide to fire off, Or we could have where it's kind of a slingshot where we lose momentum here, start to curl up to the upside, and then move back upside. There's a couple different possibilities, but right now we have to lean towards that idea that we are headed lower, because we're seeing this consistent pattern of now it's kind of 2 ATR back to the mean, 2 ATR back to the mean. But right now we have nothing to really look at. Squeeze might be setting up a new one, might be forming that we can watch. But as of right now, we're kind of just watching. And so what would make me kind of turn bullish? We get back above these EMAs. We have two closes. A good start is two closes back above the 21 EMA. That will start getting me interested in the long side. Until then, all we have working for us is this potential higher low. From that low to this low, there's a potential higher low. Okay, so that's all we've got really working for us. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some sort of double top here into the week. And reason I'm saying that is because if we look at like SPY here, all these here are gaps that I've got marked here to pay attention to. But like if we look at the hourly might be trying to flip over. But then again, if we break this down and look at the daily time frame in terms of what we could see here, is one, we've got a head and shoulders here that could potentially be forming. And that would also complement our idea of kind of a 2 ATR back to the mean, 2 ATR back to the mean type deal, right? So that's number one. And then another thing you may notice on the lower time frames here is we've got a pretty good looking head and shoulders forming on the hourly as well. I think we had a little bit of a fake out on Friday, but I do think this could end up playing out to the downside. So we could go revisit this low right here. So that's what I'm watching for that, right? So right now we don't have too many setups going into tomorrow. I mean, but there are things we can take note of. So for example, we've got a 2-hour squeeze here. This could be a start of a rollover. What we want to see is all we need to see really to go short this trade back to the lows is we have this histogram turn back red, and that will be a signal for the entry. ES hourly looks like it's in a squeeze. Yeah, I'll take a look at that in a minute. Make sure if you guys want me to put or check out any tickers that you have, we can go over that as well. But yeah, I'm just going over what I'm watching going into this week. Main idea is get an idea of what the markets might do, so then we can play other stocks in accordance to that. But yeah, just put your tickers that you're looking at in the chat and we can go from there. Okay, cool. So that's what I'm kind of seeing here. So like basically what I'm seeing is we have a head and shoulders here, and then we have a lower time frames head and shoulders as well. So it's like, okay, that's kind of like a head and shoulders inside of a head and shoulders. It's pretty good confluence. And then the only thing we need left for a trigger, right, would be honestly this 30-minute to fire short, right? The 2-hour looks good. We need if we roll over tomorrow morning, we need this to flip back bearish. We could have a 30-minute, fire this 2-hour, and then have that move lower. But then ultimately, if we're looking for more of a swing trade, what we'd be looking for is a move for NQ, which has a similar setup, as you can see, like head and shoulder pattern starting to kind of form here, right? And what we would want to see for a longer swing short is this, let's see, move lower here. We'd want to see this kind of roll over. And if this 2-hour squeeze kind of fires, we could have basically what we could see have happening is, where's my drawing tool? Here we go. We could see that 30-minute kind of take us into the 2-hour squeeze firing short. And then next after that, we've got a 4-hour squeeze forming on QQQ, which could bring us to fire that 4-hour and then ultimately bring us to that 2-day and 3-day pattern, right? So we could potentially have a chain reaction happen within the next few days. Now, the key is that this 30-minute has to give enough juice for this one here to to fire short. We got to have enough power for that. I think if the 2-hour fires short and keeps holding and can fire this 4-hour, that's what's really going to trigger everything to the downside. What time frame is the right chart? Same one. So this is the daily. So hold on. So right now, yeah, they're both the exact same. So this is a 2-day, this is a 2-day as well. So I have them synced up. But yeah, so that's what we can look for here. So that's kind of what the playbook a little bit. And honestly, it will be mainly sticking to day trades, but that entry for a swing trade will be the 2-hour to trigger. Let's go at QQQ. Really, it'll be that 4-hour. That 4-hour, if we can get a 4-hour sell signal here, that's going to trigger us to a new low. And if that triggers, that can get us going on that 2-day squeeze. So that's kind of the main key thing to watch there, right? So we have everything aligning for a short trade. But yeah. Yeah, I can go over the meta shorts. I think with the entire market pointing out head and shoulders, market makers are going to burn shorts first before going lower. Yeah, so he's saying, Dark Knight saying, everybody that's looking at these going short here, and you can unmute if you want, Dark Knight, if you can. But yeah, so he's saying that he thinks this head and shoulders could see a little bit of a fake out. And I think that we may have got a little bit of that on Friday. Like, because if you look here, this was kind of the neckline, at least for this lower time frames. We had the shoulder form here and we had the push lower, and then we got bought right back up. So that might have been the liquidity grab for the lower time frame move, or for the lower time frame head and shoulders. This higher time frame, I don't know. We're gonna have to see. Just use your stop, the 2 ATR stop, and you can get the job done with that. Or size for zero, honestly. That might be the easiest way to play it. But the only thing that the Bulls have going for them is this is a potential higher low. That's literally it. And then we have a trend line here, which I don't really use trend lines like that, but it's something you can take note of as well. So that's another piece that we can be looking at. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for the markets. If you look at the daily time frame, yeah, this candle is kind of nasty for VIX, but in terms of that, like, I'm still bullish on this squeeze until it shows us something different, right? Like, I think this will continue to push upside. I would be surprised if it did not. And that kind of lines up with our same idea that the indexes may go lower. Same with the dollar. Dollar's pushing up pretty strong. We are kind of extended, hanging out. We keep tapping that upper 2 ATR band. So we could see a reversion to the mean and a little bit of breather for the markets, but ultimately we're seeing a pretty strong uptrend. And we have a weekly squeeze that's starting to look pretty bullish, as you can see. What's the 3-day looking like? Yep, 3 days looking like it wants to fire alone. Similar, nope, 2-day doesn't have anything going. So 3 longer time frames there. Put call ratio, wouldn't be surprised if we saw a short squeeze going into tomorrow, because if you take a look, we're above 1.0. And we've gotten a few short squeezes off of that reading as well. So, okay, let's go look at Meta. And if you guys have other tickers that you want to be looking at, we can go over that. Okay, so can you let me know, Pinky, if are you looking at the daily time frame to go short, or what are you looking for? $4-hour? Okay. Okay, so the 4-hour kind of has a similar story. Like if we go look at the daily time frame, you can see obviously there's been some sort of trend change. Like we are higher highs, higher lows. The EMAs are starting to flip over. And so if we go look at the 4 hour, it's kind of the same story as the market. We pushed to -2 ATR, and now we got bought back up off that 2 ATR. The real question is this right here going to be a double bottom? So that's what I would be watching out for. And it's similar to the markets, but if you get a sell signal, then I would be looking to go short. But it's not, you don't love to be like, I don't love to be short and seeing a potential double bottom. I don't love seeing that because usually that means the market's a little stronger. But with this pattern here, I think we could see a move downside. I think I'd rather play the market in this sense because this is a little bit stronger than the markets and has been strong for quite a while. I'd begin to look short if you can find an entry. I mean, there's a 2-day squeeze. Let's see. Is there a 3-day? Yep, there's a 3-day squeeze. And see, this one kind of looks exactly like very, very similar to the entire market. So it's kind of like, so goes the market, so does Meta. Meta's going to probably do a similar move, right? So that's kind of my thought process on looking at Meta. Really, whatever, it looks almost identical to the market. It's probably going to do whatever the market does. So I would kind of play it in sync with that. If you see, and the only way I would play this rather than going short the market is if this one's showing relative weakness, and it has some sort of squeeze on the time frame that I could play for, like a 2-hour squeeze, 1 hour, whatever it may be. But yeah, if the markets end up having this 2-day squeeze go short, then I think Meta will do the same thing and follow suit. And if you guys got other tickers, let me know and I can go over those. Oh, Sebi said squeeze on the hourly for ES. Yeah, usually you're gonna get a squeeze in the futures market when we have like overnight, typically is what's going to happen. So usually that's what's going to happen with that. Honestly, it's so really what I pay attention to is when we get to the morning of, like when it's like typically I'll start taking into account a squeeze on the futures market when we hit about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then that squeeze will give you direction on what's going to happen the rest of the, at least in the morning. That's how, like I'd let you guys know, I thought the market was going to go lower on, it was maybe Wednesday or something like that. But that was because we started to flip over on this 30-minute time frame. And then we had a squeeze, and then it was just setting up for that as well. And on the lower time frames, you go like to the 15-minute. It was setting up for a downside squeeze as well. So once it fired, we had a nice push to the downside. So that's how I typically use the squeeze for futures markets. What's your thoughts on Tesla this week? Okay, so Tesla. So I mean, this one, it got bought up pretty quickly at that low, but I mean that's really because we were hanging out -3 ATR outside of it. So once we did that, we got bought up very quickly. So it was kind of just a reversion back to the mean type deal. But it's definitely weaker than the overall market for sure, ever since it had that earnings announcement. Let's see. We have an hourly squeeze. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so in terms of like a shorter term day trade, this looks really good. This could push further ahead long and go test probably this high here. At least at 240. We've got a few gaps to fill up to here. So I wouldn't be surprised if the market shows bullish tomorrow, that this could push back up to about 242, like this 3 ATR band here at 243 area. I think it looks good for that, like a shorter term, maybe day trade, overnight swing. This is a good setup to go long, in my opinion. Like I would take this if I would have saw it on Friday and the market was cooperating. But yeah, this is a good setup that looks long for the lower time frames. And then like as for the 4 hour looks like it's gaining bullish momentum, and same with the daily. So I do like this to push upside more. And I think this 34 EMA would probably be a good target right around the 243 area, 243.50 area. So yeah, I like that one for short-term upside, not anything like a swing long more than a day or two. And then, but yeah, I like that one in terms of the hourly time frame. So ES monthly. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought this up. ES monthly, like if you look at this, so this one looks good for more upside, to be honest. Like the monthly charts are still intact and look very good for a continuation upside. You can see this month we're gaining our first light blue bar on the squeeze histogram. So, and we have the stacked EMAs. We look good. Like we're nothing looks bad about this chart, right? I wouldn't be surprised. What we really need to see is get this momentum going, see if we can hold a little bit further. Based on looking at just this chart, it looks like we could head down to that 4,200 area and retest that. That'd probably be a good place to go long if everything lines up how we talk about. Blue histograms bullish, EMA stay stacked. I like that going long right near the 21 EMA for a move back to the new high. And that's obviously like a very long-term play. And once the squeeze fires off, if it does fire off long, then that does mean we will have like 6 to 10 months of bullish price action, pushing or squeeze to the upside, which could ultimately bring us up to at least that 2 ATR, which is the high, right? The previous all-time high. And then maybe 5,000. But obviously, this is going to take a long time, not a long, this is going to take a few months to develop, in my opinion. So ES monthly looks good. And same with NASDAQ, they all look pretty. Can I show you how to set up the Keltner channels real quick? Yeah. So like when you look at this, so what you do is you'll go to the indicators, you'll search Keltner channels, which would be right here. It's just a standard trading view thing. And then you go to the settings. You can input these however you want, like make them look however you want. And then from there, you're going to go the length 21, and you're going to add this 3 times, or really you can do 2. So you add the Keltner channel in once and then twice, and you make one of them a multiplier of 2, and then the other one a multiplier of 3. Any other questions? Because I do have a couple tickers that I do want to show you guys and see what you think. So let's see. So one that I'm keeping an eye on that I do think looks good is Google. Let's see. Does the 2 hour, 2 day? Okay, yeah, the 2 day looks really good. Okay, so Google has been holding up way stronger than the rest of the market. It had an earnings gap up, and typically those like to continue to run after. Now, if the market starts to turn bullish, this one's going to explode, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised if the market turns bullish, we go see the new highs on Google first. The 3-day looks really good. The 2-day is kind of setting up. We don't have it's forming another squeeze, but main priority here that I'm watching is the daily time frame. I think this one looks really good. We need the momentum to flip over back bullish. As you can see, it's starting to turn with bearish momentum, which we don't want to see. But like if I'm looking to go long anything, I'm watching Google. I like this pattern. I like how it's holding the gap. It's got some relative strength for sure. So I'm watching that one for the long side for a swing play if we end up getting that. No, not Amazon. What was the other one I was looking at? It was Google, Nvidia. Let's see what Nvidia ends up doing Friday. I didn't check this one on Friday. Yeah, so honestly, this is one that I wouldn't be I wouldn't be opposed going long right now. Like, reason why is because everything is lining up that you would want to see on a bullish chart. You can see histogram holding that green or that light blue. You can see we're in a squeeze. We have histogram or stacked EMAs like we need, right? Everything lines up for this one perfect. And then, yeah, there's nothing wrong with this chart. The only thing is if the market continues lower, but like in terms of how this chart looks on its own without looking at the rest of the market, this one is ready for a long now. But obviously it won't work if the market doesn't work. So this has a 2-day squeeze as well. What's the 3-day looking like? 3-day squeeze as well. So I like this one so this is the other long that I would be looking at to swing long if the market decides to turn over and start becoming bullish again. So this is another one that I like. In terms of shorts, there's not too many things. I typically like when I'm swinging and looking for a short position, I do like to just trade the indexes. So I don't look too much for short positions in other stocks. I typically will just short the indexes, but so there's nothing really to look at in that sense. There's another stock that I like, Cat here. Obviously there's some things that need to be worked out, like this histogram. I need a few more dots on the squeeze, but in terms of this one, it's shown relative strength. It's consolidating perfectly like we need. And yeah, so goes the market, so goes everything else, right? So like these are the kind of the ones that I'm keeping on my watch list to possibly go long if the market shows me any signs that I'll like it. Will Cat see some growth if Florida gets wrecked this week? I think if it sees any growth, that's going to come from retail. And I don't think it'll be for that reason. Like they've already priced that in. They'll typically price things in like that already. If they see hurricanes coming, they'll price it in. So no, I wouldn't hang your hat on that reasoning. I would more so just go based off the charts. I do like the way this one looks. So really what I'm watching, if we go lower, obviously I'm just going to be shorting the indexes. But if we go higher, I really like Nvidia and I really like Google. So those are kind of the ones that I'm watching to go potentially go long. These would be probably size for zero trades. I'd buy more time on Google because I think that if we can get the ball rolling here, we really could go test 143 area and then potentially go test that 150 area too. So I do like this one a lot to go long. So this is probably number one, Nvidia number two, and then the markets will be my short positions that I'll be looking to play. But that's all I got for you guys. If you have more questions or anything that you'd like me to go over, you can send them to me in the chat. And I'll be happy to get back to you and post those in my channel and give some analysis on those. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for coming. Let me know if you have questions. Keep NVIDIA and what's it called? Keep NVIDIA and Google on your watch list. I do like those long. The charts look really good. It's just a matter of the markets, right? So thank you guys. Have a good night, and I'll see you for the markets tomorrow.